Hello, everyone, and welcome back to I Care About You, the podcast where we explore the real, raw, and sometimes messy parts of being human. I'm your host, Juliana J, and today we're diving into a topic that many of us have grappled with, the feeling of being the different one in the room. If you've ever felt like an outsider, even among friends and family, this episode is for you. We will explore this experience through the lens of Carl Jung's analytical psychology, focusing on the concept of archetypes, and in particular, the outsider archetype. Before we begin, I want to remind you to order my book, Reasons to Live. It has a lot of really great exercises in how to work through change, challenge, dark times, suicidal ideology, and thoughts. There's a lot of content in there that can help everyone. And there's also a section to help you understand how to help others, which is really, really important today and always, that we have the skill set to help one another when we need to. So Reasons to Live, I'll link it in the description. But for now, let's talk about being an outsider. The universal experience of being different. Have you ever walked into a gathering and felt out of place, even if you knew everyone there? This sensation of being different is more common than you might think. It is not just about societal anxiety or introversion. It's a deeper feeling of not aligning with the collective energy around you. Carl Jung, a Swiss psychiatrist and psychoanalyst, introduced the concept of collective unconsciousness, which is a set of shared beliefs and archetypes common to all humans. When we feel different, it might be because our personal experiences, our inner truths, don't align with these collective norms. You probably know them as societal norms and things everyone thinks are true. The collective unconscious can also encompass the unconscious desires of the people we share the planet with at present, and are there underlining rules or boxes we need to fit into because our society or our community wants us to do so. A lot of that has to do with it's easier to understand if you're in a box. Not as much energy needs to be given to who you are as a person if you're sort of outside that box. And then a lot of times folks don't feel like they can make that decision on their own, whether the person outside of that box is valid, not valid, good, bad, wonderful, not wonderful, etc. So let's go a little bit into these archetypes, which I think are really, really interesting. So Jung introduced the concept of archetypes as universal symbols and images that derive from the collective unconsciousness. These archetypes are innate, universal prototypes for ideas and may have been used to interpret observations. There are several primary archetypes according to Carl. The self. This is everything you are, both seen and hidden. It represents the unification of your unconscious and your conscious, your inner world and your persona, what you project out to the world, who you have to be in the world, and who you are inside. Then there's the shadow, which you might have heard about in other podcasts that I've done or just out and about in the world. The shadow comprises and represents unknown aspects of yourself. This can include fears, feelings of low self-worth, memories of guilt, shame, and embarrassment, all these things we have a hard time seeing in ourselves, but that we also use when we create our self-image. We often give more credit to the bad things that have happened in life, but give less energy to what is good in our lives. That's just human nature to dwell on the negative. And so we might use these shadows to define ourselves. Like we're not worthy of love. No one loves us. No one can love us. We're incapable of being loved. We're stupid. We're not capable. We're screw ups, losers, etc. Then there is this thing that Carl talked about, which is the divine feminine and the divine masculine, but everyone embodies both of those sides, but often not in balance. Often, for example, like super macho men are less in touch with their feelings and emotions, which are said to be more feminine qualities. And we say that they are out of touch with their feminine side, meaning that they're emotionally unavailable, among other things. So finding the balance is the goal between those two sides. I think we could really improve on this, but we just haven't throughout time. We keep referring it to it as masculine and feminine. And then there's the persona. This is the mask you wear that you present to the world. It's not your true self, it's a persona. These archetypes manifest in dreams, art, literature, religion, influence behaviors, and expectations. So let's understand these archetypes. Carl introduced the concept of archetypes, universal symbols and images that the collective consciousness comes up with, and then we put into literature, art, dreams. Like you often hear trope and things like that, those kind of verbiage. That's an archetype of somebody. A trope is like an archetype. Understanding these archetypes help us make sense of our behaviors, motivations, and feelings. They serve as guides, illuminating the paths that we may walk and the roles that we embody. They also help us see other people in certain light. So let's go over a few archetypes. One, the outsider archetype, which is what we're talking about today. This archetype embodies the feeling of being different, of not belonging to the mainstream. Outsiders often see the world with this unique perspective. They challenge norms and they offer fresh insights. Embracing the outsider can be empowering. It allows us to honor our individuality and recognize our value in distinct viewpoints. Remember, many trailblazers and visionaries have been outsiders. There is a lot of beauty and power in being an outsider. We just feel very uncomfortable with it because we feel those societal pressures on us, the collective bearing down on us and who we should be and how we should be. But in all reality, it is the people that are thinking outside of the box that create new things, that are the trailblazers and the visionaries in our lives throughout time. Then there's the hermit archetype. I love this archetype. Every time it comes up in a tarot reading, I'm like, woohoo, the hermit. I don't know why. I just think it's really cool. The hermit is an archetype that represents solitude, introspective, inner wisdom. The hermit retreats from the world to seek like deeper understanding and enlightenment. In our fast-paced society, the hermit generally reminds us of the importance of slowing down, of reflecting, of reconnecting with our inner self. It is solitude that we often find clarity and purpose. And I just want to make a little distinction here. I'm talking about solitude, not loneliness. Loneliness is something different. The hermit goes into solitude and introspection to really tap into their inner wisdom and to learn, to become enlightened, to expand, to find clarity. It's like those moments of pause, or when you stay home all night by yourself and do something that you truly enjoy. Like maybe it's just read a book, something of that nature. It's that solitude of introspecting, going inward. Then there's the wounded healer archetype. The wounded healer is a powerful archetype. It suggests that our deepest wounds can be sources of healing for others and ourselves. By confronting and understanding our own pain, we can develop empathy and compassion. This archetype teaches us that vulnerability is a strength. Sharing our stories and struggles can create connections and fostering healing, not just for ourselves, but for everyone else out there and people we support. I highly, highly recommend that you share your stories. Share them here. You can share them with me. You can share them in comments, anywhere, because sharing your story helps someone. And here at I Care About You, we're a community that helps one another. So please, please, please don't keep your stories silent to yourself. They have meaning for more people than you know. Another one is the seer. The seer is a visionary. It possesses the ability to perceive beyond the surface. This archetype is attuned to intuition, foresight, and deeper truths. Embracing the seer, it's either seer or seer, depending upon how you pronounce it, within encourages us to trust our inner knowing and to look beyond the obvious. It invites us to explore the mysteriousness of life and to seek wisdom in unexpected places. I love this. I love all these archetypes, really. They all have such a great purpose in our lives, and at times we embody all of them. But it's really important to know that you should embrace these components of your life because they can bring you tools and gifts that, and actually give you permission to be vulnerable or to be introspective or to be solitary for a bit or to go with your intuition. The last one I want to talk about is the hero archetype, which we've heard a lot about. This archetype embarks on a journey, faces challenges, emerges transformed. The hero's path is one of courage, growth, and self-discovery. We all have a hero inside of us. Every time we confront our fears, overcome obstacles, or stand up for our beliefs, we embody this archetype. We might dip in and dip out of it, but all these archetypes we embody. So understanding these archetypes, the outsider, the hermit, the seer, the wounded healer, the hero, can provide valuable insights to our own experiences of feeling different or out of place. By recognizing these patterns within ourselves, we can begin to embrace our uniqueness, find strength in our solitude, seek wisdom from within, and transform our wounds into sources of healing. So it's really about not sitting in that space of being the outsider all of the time, but dipping back into these other places. The hermit when you need to, the seer when you need to, the wounded healer when you need to, and the hero when you need to. And that really any one of these archetypes can be seen as an outsider. Even a hero is often seen as an outsider. Being able to embrace and embody that uniqueness and find strength in these different archetypes when they come up, and to realize that being an outsider actually has a lot of good qualities to it. And here are some steps you can kind of integrate these archetypes into your own life and who you are as a person. Self-reflection, regularly assessing your feelings and identifying situations where you were the most out of place, and understanding the triggers can provide insights into underlying beliefs. So when you find yourself in that outsider space, try and figure out what are the situations where you feel that way? Why do you feel that way? Are there any triggers that come up for you when you're in that situation? And what insights do you have? Maybe you have some internal beliefs that are making you feel like an outsider. Maybe when you grew up, you felt like an outsider all the time because people wouldn't bring you into their group or befriend you or called you weird or names or made fun of you. And so now you feel like when you go into a room and you recognize one of those archetypes or someone very similar to the people that were unkind to you as a child, you start to feel out of place. It's just an old pattern that you're feeling. So getting to the root of it, what makes you feel like an outsider there? And are you okay with it or not? Sometimes you're an outsider because you're with a group of people that you don't really like. And in that case, being an outsider is actually affirming to you that those aren't your people, or that you do not do those things, or you feel differently about whatever it is that they are doing. And so it can be affirming too. But really try to figure out, why do you feel like an outsider in these certain spaces? Do you not have the language? Are they all talking in jargon or something else? Or do you not even want to talk about it, about whatever they're talking about? Or is it just bringing up a memory from somewhere that made you feel inadequate or an outsider? Shadow work is another thing you can do. Engage in practices that help you confront and integrate suppressed aspects of yourself. This could be through therapy, journaling, meditations, affirmations, playing basketball, doing all kinds of things, whatever works for you. It can be conversations with friends, conversations with yourself. There's a lot of different ways you can do shadow work, and shadows are really these things inside of you that aren't so wonderful. Maybe they're shame, embarrassment, maybe it's guilt, maybe it's memories that are hurtful, maybe it's feelings of lack of self-worth or lack of value or no self-love. Those shadows inside of yourself are something to kind of look at, because they can lead you. Sometimes you feel like an outsider because you're in a space that will bring up a memory that you feel shame about, or that you didn't do the right thing about, you made a mistake, and now it's just bringing up that emotion from that past experience, and it makes you feel like an outsider because you can't engage in the way that everyone else is engaging. Maybe you have a lot of trauma in your life, and being in these certain places triggers it and brings it up, and brings up some of those same emotions, even though you're not experiencing it anymore. It's just your brain is looking back into its memories and pulling these things out of how you have responded emotionally in the past. Authentic expression can really help you integrate archetypes and better find out who you are. Find avenues to express your unique perspective, whether it's through art or writing or creative outlets. Whether you start writing 3-sentence poetry or 100-word stories, whatever it is, to have authentic expression. It might even be in small little tiny things like doodles or tiny drawings or making things out of found objects. Whatever you're drawn to, find a way to express yourself authentically. Maybe it's conversation. Maybe it's just finding people who share your perspective and engaging in conversation with them. Another thing you can do is community building for yourself. Seek out like-minded individuals who appreciate and support your individuality. Then you won't feel so much like an outsider. There's probably a lot of people out there who have similar memories to you, similar shadows that are bringing up these feelings of being an outsider. And there's a lot of people that feel like outsiders. I would venture to say more people feel like outsiders than feel like they fit in. Even the people you think are doing it all, the popular folks, they still feel like outsiders. And that has to do with authentic connection, self-reflection, doing the shadow work, and building a community that is similar to who you are, because your reality is all based on you and what you're creating in your life and how you're choosing to look at it. If you surround yourself with like-minded folks, you can strengthen your own reality and find connections and bonds. A lot of times we can't connect with people because their reality is so different from our reality. A classic example of that is if you're a real positive person and there's somebody who thinks the world is just out to get them and everybody who drives a car is trying to run into them and nobody likes them and they hate all the neighbors and they hate everything that happens and their shoe gets untied, their shoe is out to get them and the world's out to get them and the universe is against them. And then there's this really positive person that is really challenging to each have a reality that the other one can interact with. Because if I think everything's positive and this person thinks everything's negative, their reality is so different from mine. It's almost like we're on different planets, and it's hard to be in community with that. And that being said, celebrate your differences. Recognize and celebrate the qualities that set you apart because they are your superpowers, my friend, your superpowers. Whatever sets you apart makes you incredible. Everyone is looking for individuality. No one wants to be a clone of somebody else. No one. You might want some things other persons have, but you don't want to be them exactly. So celebrate your differences. Embracing the outsider archetype can be a catalyst for individuation. The process of integrating your consciousness with your unconscious parts of the psyche to achieve just self-actualization, to achieve just figuring out who the heck you are. This is important work, to just use that archetype as a catalyst to figure out who in the world you are and where you're going and what is important to you. The outsider journey often involves confronting the shadow, acknowledging repressed aspects of self and reconciling them with your persona. And by reconciling them, I mean like forgiving yourself, like understanding everyone makes mistakes, everyone screws up, everyone has challenges. You don't make it through life without those things. And have some grace and compassion for yourself and be able to forgive yourself as well as others for whatever happened and to reconcile them into your persona, how you show up in the world. So that you're not feeling like your persona is so fake and far removed from how you actually feel, which is actually a lot of what happens that I talk about in my book when people become very, very isolated. Their persona is not matching their internal self. Like they're projecting to the world, they're all great and everything's fantastic, but inside they feel like they're struggling to go on from day to day. That's an extreme example of that. So this path requires courage, and it involves stepping away from societal expectations to explore your authentic self. However, it also offers the potential for profound insight, creativity, and a deeper understanding of the human experience. It's super, super important when you're really trying to figure out who you are and reconcile your inner self with your persona, or at least have something that's very similar. I mean, we all project. You're always going to have a persona. You're always going to be well behaved in public or whatever, because that's just how it is. You're never going to be truly truly embody both of those things, because there are things that you don't tell everybody straight off the bat for whatever reason. So thank you for joining me on this exploration of the outsider. I hope it made you feel a little bit more like you're not alone. We're all in this together. We all feel this way. And why do you feel this way? And hopefully you have some tools to kind of explore that a little bit, because being an outsider or any of those archetypes in and of itself none of them are bad. They're not bad. They're great. It's just maybe balancing them a little bit more. You can definitely, when you're an outsider and you feel like you're an outsider and you're reflecting on that, you can definitely use some hermit energy to go inward and figure out what that might look like. And then you can also use the wounded healer and the hero. Putting it in that perspective kind of allows you to take these things outside of yourself and put them in an archetype, so you can work with them without feeling like they're all jumbled up inside of you as part of you. And then you can bring them back when you've worked with it. So embracing this aspect of yourselves can be a powerful step towards authenticity and self-realization. If today's episode resonated with you, please subscribe, leave a comment to tell us how it's going for you. What archetype do you relate to the most and why? Which archetype do you wish you related more to and why? And any advice you have for us, because like I said, it's a community here at I Care About You, and we're all here to help one another. So remember, know that I love you and I support you and I care about you, and you can use these tools to really go deeper into who you are, especially if you're wondering, who am I and where I'm going? This is a really great way to explore that through journaling, thinking about it, working with it, and I guarantee you, it will lead you to answers. So take good care, my friend.